which consumer understands is low, brand loyalty is high. आपने कभी नमक में ब्रांड देखी थी? कभी आप मसाले ब्रांड देख के ज़्यादा खरीदते हैं? जो पॉपुलर हो गया रेंज बराबर है सबकी सब, तो एक बोले नहीं एवरेज नहीं है, आप हल्दीराम ले लो, हल्दीराम नहीं है वो ले लो, आप सोनी वाला ही चीज़ है।
लेकिन नमक में इतनी ब्रांड है कि आप लूज नहीं लोगे, आप एक बैग लोगे।
Did I arrive? Yesterday 11 p.m. Yeah, next to everyone
Minister's preoccupation with the cabinet meeting, but we will just begin the panel discussion now. So may I please request the panelists to come and take their seats here. Thank you. Namaskar again. Very, very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen out here. Thank you very much for your patience and thank you very much for attending this panel discussion. I have great pleasure in welcoming the August panel, the press, and I can see a certain industry representation as well. We are here for deliberating today's discussion entitled Ensuring Consumer Protection in Digital India. Is it time to look at eWarranties? So I will give a very little brief about it. What is a brand? A brand is but a promise. You know, it's a promise of quality, longevity and performance. And to back this promise, we have warranties. Without warranties, the promise does not exist. And here begins the area that has been grey too long. Warranties have been a grey area for, not only for India, but also for the rest of the world. Recently, the US has enacted an eWarranty Act in September 2015 to make life simpler for the consumers, and I dare say, for the brands. Consumers have this tendency of purchasing products and then losing the warranty cards and the invoices at the first instance. And this is not a problem limited to India, it's a problem which is worldwide. It's a phenomenon. So with this eWarranty Act, what does it hold for the companies in the US or in the rest of the world? Actually, having run a few companies myself, I think this spells a huge number of opportunities for the brands and the companies. Consumer service can attain amazing heights, and the consumer satisfaction can be clearly replaced with what most of the brands aspire for, consumer delight. So for the companies, this would mean repeated business, and hence can their bottom lines and a direct connect with the consumer. Surely the panel will speak more on the US eWarranty Act, and Mr. Abhishek Paris, the global CEO of Warranteer, will shed more light on the new opportunities that have arisen both for the consumers and for the companies. So coming back to the promise, I can promise you one thing, that this most enthralling discussion that lies ahead of us will enlighten us a lot and clear out the grey areas. But just before, I really shouldn't stand in the way of that, but just before I do that, I would like to take the honors of introducing to you the august panel that we have today. Mr. Zakir Hussain, the Director IT for Consumer Affairs, Government of India, is a senior IAS officer. And you know what? He is the gentleman who is in charge of IT and e-commerce. But most famously, he is also, at this point, in charge of the most famous campaign, Jago Grahak Jago. We welcome Mr. Zakir Hussain. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for coming. Mr. Asim Sanyal is the Chief Operating Officer of Consumer Voice. And, you know, he's had a varied career across continents. And today, he's among the leading voices of consumer empowerment in this country and of consumer rights in this country. He's an affable personality, and he's committed to consumer protection in India. And the best part is that he chose this social career by giving a bite to many reputed corporate offers from across the globe. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Sanyal. Mr. Anurag Batra, he's going to be the moderator for today. He's the chairman and editor-in-chief of Business World, an exchange for media group. He is a fairly well-known media personality himself. Ever since his takeover of the business world, Mr. Batra has taken, and that's just over a year, he has taken the magazine from strength to strength and has scaled new heights for business world and is forging the legacy ahead with full gusto. Welcome, Mr. Batra. Mr. Vijay Sardana, he is the leader for retail in ASSOCHAM, and most of us know about ASSOCHAM, so don't really have to tell much about ASSOCHAM. And Mr. Sardana has a specialization in bioeconomy, including food security, food safety, commodities and agribusinesses, and has, to his credit, management of many multicultural and international teams successfully. Now with ASSOCHAM, a few months back, he was with PhD-CCI as well, and he's also the go-to person for a sound understanding in globalization strategies. Welcome, Mr. Sardana. Mr. Satyajit Gupta, he is the advocate and principal corporate for Advaita Legal. Advaita Legal works very closely with KPMG. Mr. Gupta is a dual qualified lawyer from India and the UK and has over 12 years of work experience in top law practices, including, of course, the current Advaita Legal, Ketan and Company, AZB and Partners. He has built successfully relations across diverse teams and has also taken on very enthusiastically BD and business development and strategy responsibilities. Welcome, Mr. Gupta. Mr. Abhishek Paris, founder and global CEO, Warranteer.com, has 15 years of experience in retail and joins us all the way from Israel. Mr. Paris has co-founded Warranteer.com, which is now present across various geographies of the world. He has considerable experience in the brown goods and white goods markets and is passionate about brand-consumer relationships. Welcome, Mr. Paris.
I know this is the MC. Is there a class that has Mr. Putin clapping?
Not yet. We were saying.
It was very cold. If you clap, it will for your body.
Thank you so much. Mr. Rohit Govil is the Associate Director, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Mr. Govil specializes in mergers and acquisitions, valuations, private placement and other corporate finance and strategy advisory services. He is also responsible for startups in his current capacity. Needless to say, with the Startup India campaign by the Prime Minister Sri Modi, his specialty sector is growing to go exponentially, and we will have all our eyes on you, Mr. Govil. Welcome, please. Welcome today. Mr. Saurabh Rai, he's a personal friend, of course. Welcome, Saurabh. And Saurabh is the CEO of Surplus.in. It's an amazing site. You guys need to check that out as well at the Pehli Fursat, like they say. You know, he's recently taken over Surplus.in after almost a decade of consulting conglomerates in his previous avatar at Accenture. He is an inspirational leader who offers a global perspective in strategy and digital consultancy. You will hear a lot of him in the future as well. Welcome, Mr. Rai. For now, let's hear it for the panel and all the guests. Please take over from here.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Lal. Thank you for inviting me. I'm always afraid to come to this hotel. I normally sweat. You know why? Why? Can you guess why I sweat whenever I come to this hotel? No, then I won't sweat. Actually, the air conditioner in most hotels in Delhi is on the hard side. You have to turn it down. They're built for expats, not for us. I got married in this hotel, so I sweat whenever I come. It should have been easy for you. On a very serious note, I think we gathered here to discuss something that impacts all of our lives. So I'd like you to give a big round of applause to Sumit for setting this up. And again, we may not realize we're part of something historic, And you know how many hours housewives spend on trying to haggle about price and what they can. I've seen my mother doing it, I've seen my wife doing it. So I think consumers today have a chance to get another protection or another incentive to be able to purchase things the way they are. So we have a fantastic panel. We have somebody who will implement and influence policy and actually make sure that the government takes cognizance of what we discussed here today. So we have Mr. Zakir Hussain. We have, we're talking consumers, so we have Mr. Sanya. I've known about his organization and I've met his principal many times in TV debates. So we have Rohit Govil from PwC, so we have a consultant. We have a lawyer on board because at the end of the day there are legal issues when you implement this. We have Mr. Sardana. I was talking to him and he is an expert in terms of, as Sumit said, the retail side and the agri-business. But some of the points that you were mentioning were very weighty and very deep. So we welcome his experience. He was instrumental in drafting a bill that impacted consumers. So hopefully his experience will come in handy. We have Mr. Saurabh Rai, who's really through Surplus.com is trying to create a bridge between excess inventory and traditionally we had these discount stores. By the way, Saurabh, I did the branding when I turned an entrepreneur. And just before I started exchanging for media, I had time, I was doing more writing. So I did the brand identity shut down, not because of my discount circuit. You remember discount circuit? No. Rajpal Local, you don't. So anyway, it was in some way a physical store to what you do. Anyway, so we have, and last but not least, we have a guest, the global CEO of eWarranteer, Mr. Abhishek Paris, who probably knows more about this domain and what needs to happen than all of us. The format we're going to follow is, we'll get each of the panelists to come in and make 5 minutes of introductory comments on why we need, why do we need it, how is the road ahead, what the various stakeholders could do, what are the benefits they see for consumers, what is the mindset change that brand owners and product owners need to bring in, what is the mindset change apart from regulating the government needs to do. So what is the role of each of the stakeholders? So we get each one to speak for 5 minutes. We go around the table and can act in this. Second is how, in terms of savings, I think we have the right time to debate this. So we'll start with you, Mr. Hussain, and get your inputs on what the government is doing, how does the government see this, and when do we see such a law being brought to the fore?
Good morning, everyone. I'm very thanks to eWarranty, Mr. Sumit Lal, who invited me on this occasion. And since this is a very new subject and it is also new to me, so I may not be able to comment because I have not gone through the paper what he has given in the morning. So I will talk less on the eWarranty. But so far government is concerned, in the interest of consumer protection, we have introduced the bill, Consumer Protection Bill in Lok Sabha last year 2015, and now discussion is going on that bill. So, and in bill we have made the provision of consumer who is doing the business, online business. If you affected with the online business, then our consumer courts is already there. You may contact consumer courts, and now since our bills is not finalized, then when I will go through the eWarranty and we will see how it is affected, how it will be effective on the consumers.
Absolutely.
So, and for the consumer awareness, we are doing also the campaign, which is very famous campaign, Jago, as you all know aware. So now I will hand over to Asinji. He will throw light more on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Hussain. It's short and sweet. But yeah, it ties into your Jago Grahak Jago. Because in some way, with the fact that there is a service aspect to most products, I won't say services, but at least to more products, especially in the durable space, in the IT space, in the automobile space, and service is an area where the manufacturer, product owners make a lot of money.
The point will well taken. I will, when we meet for the Jago campaign committee, then I will go through this proposal what you have just.
Thank you, Mr. Sen.
Thank you.
Your presence here make sure that you will take away ideas and be able to implement them as policy. Coming to you, Mr. Sanya, you really are an expert in this domain. You have a deep dive understanding of what is needed and why it is needed.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you eWarranteers for inviting me. I work for a small organization called Consumer Voice under the Jago umbrella, and working with the Department of Consumer Affairs ever since it was accepted or introduced in British government. The way I look at it is, eWarranty or any kind of warranty and guarantee in its applicable form, please keep that in mind, in fact, inverted commas, applicable form, Why I say applicable form is because most of the consumers have complaints that when you try to apply warranties and not guarantee, it doesn't apply. Terms and conditions apply, as Anurag very clearly said. So if it is an applicable form, then consumer का हाथ में तो लड्डू है, उसको खरीदना ही है. चाहे वो e-commerce के थ्रू खरीदे, चाहे वो मार्केट से brick and mortar के थ्रू खरीदे. I mean, whatever form he is buying through, in fact, through credit card or cash or through e-commerce site or whatever it is. In scenario of a developing nation like India, or I recently went to Brazil. Brazil also equally has the same kind of potential as India. So you are buying almost something or the other every day. You or your family. Warranty and guarantee is something which we assume is, and I'm talking about when we say you, we, it is basically, I'm talking about the consumers. The consumer assumes that in high value goods, guarantee and warranty is very important. In white goods, warranty is absolutely a must. In electronic product, you have to get a warranty because कुछ भी खराब हो सकता है, कभी भी खराब हो सकता है, आपका, including your mobile handset. So there are certain perceptions that the consumer carries. So very obviously, the entire project of giving e-warranties or giving warranties per se rests more on the company's side rather than on the consumer's side. Because consumers are anyway buying products which are supposed to have a warranty card, which is right now being stamped and signed and given to you. You tend to lose that, or you also lose the bill simultaneously. So when it actually comes to apply that warranty or guarantee, it doesn't apply because of various reasons. The Indian consumers are very naive about certain aspects. In fact, they are very forgetful also. So if one studies the e-warranty scheme, it's something which comes in very, very handy for the consumers. That's a brief study that I did, in fact, and that's why I thought, let's join hands and see whether it can give that double laddu in the hands of the consumers or not. It can actually. And I said, the tagline is basically, will the consumers benefit ultimately. And that benefit will ultimately come from whether the company applies that or not, in what product category it applies. Right? So everybody knows about. Let me give an example how I said it. When Ola and Uber and all cabs came into India, we did a lot of study as a consumer group, in fact, and we knew it is nothing but an app. It is nothing but an app. They don't own the fleet, they don't own the car, but did the general consumers know about it? No. Till the bad incident happened, in fact, with Uber, nobody knew. If I am calling up or applying basically the app of Uber, I don't know that they are only supplying app. Most of the consumers thought, I am basically talking to Uber through the app. You are not. They are just provider of the app. So there are legal issues also in this particular thing, which very obviously some of my fellow panelists will touch upon. It is important for the consumer to understand it rather than misunderstand it. It's something like when we introduced the red and the green dots in food items way back. That was an introduction which created a lot of hue and cry in the industry, in fact, and a lot of hue and cry, especially say from the bakery industry and all. But our objective was basically not to penalize the industry. Our objective was basically to allow consumers a choice to have a veg or a non-veg food. That's about all. This is again a choice that is being handed over to the consumers by the companies. So if I may put it, for companies it can easily become an USP.
Yeah. And be a differentiator. Can be a differentiator. We have it.
Consumers basically are looking for it because they have now got used to that stamped, signed paper, at least ghadi ke liye, electronic goods ke liye. I mean, this is something that he looks forward, or white goods in fact. Converting it to a simpler terms like e-warranty, it all depends on the Indian corporate mentality. And I think that is the differentiator between how successful e-warranty is. I must say, as a consumer organization and as a consumer myself, I am very happy to have an app like this. But how far it will be applicable in Indian condition, or Chinese condition if you want to put it in fact. Well, I really can't say. But how long it will take, I don't know. But as and when it happens, it's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashim. Ashim is saying that, we Indian consumers deserve a better deal, like they've been given choices in the past. This is a choice they must have. From the product owner, brand owner, manufacturer standpoint, it can be a differentiator that we offer it and some others don't. So as long as it's given as an option, it is a value add that over a period of time will become the norm. That's what Abhishek is saying. We have now Abhishek Parekh, Mr. Abhishek Parekh, who is the founder and global CEO of Warranteer.com. If I may call you by your first name? Yes. Abhishek. Abhishek, you seem that bringing an act like that can help the consumers. Can you give us some data points, some stories where having this, some anecdotes really help the consumer?
Yes, so first of all, good morning, and thank you very much for coming, guests. Even I'm the youngest person here in this table, I would like to start with some historical point. I think what we try to do or to say about retail. Retail has been all the years, even hundreds of years ago, customer has needed a product, he used to go to his nearest neighbor or farmer, purchase the product, use it. If he had a problem, he used to go to his neighbors and fix it. And during these years, it still have the same goal. There is the brand or the manufacturer, and there is the end user that will always be part of this chain. And this chain has been expanded more and more for distributors and retailers and service centers, and a bigger chain in all of these parts. And when it comes to the end users today, part of the evolution of the retail business and product, when a customer has a problem today, sometimes he can go to his nearest, to the store that he bought it, but then the store can tell him, no, the brand take care for it, you need to go to the brand. Once you go to the brand, sometimes we have a third-part service center that do the manage for him. And it takes much longer and much frustrated period of time to fix a very small problem. So if you mention, if I'm always thinking about, I don't know, like my mom, when she has a problem, why she needs to go to the website to look after who is the taking care, to make some phone calls, then they send her, I don't know, it can take half day, it can take 3 days. At the end, she probably will fix the problem, but it will be very, very frustrating for her, and this is what we try to solve. We try to give the end user the basic information, because as you mentioned, warranties need to be given, because it's products and it's expensive, and it's already given by a piece of paper that sometimes doesn't relevant, and sometimes changes.
It's in a box, you throw the box,
yeah,
and
it's dynamic.
It's not easily retrievable. When a consumer calls, you have searching for the information is cumbersome.
Nobody keeping it.
Yes,
Nobody keeping it. I will tell you a personal story how I started Warranteer 2.5 years ago. How this idea actually has been invented. 3 years ago I bought a new house, and once I bought a new house I bought a lot of electricity appliances, and also in our region you need to fill the warranty card, to send back, to keep the invoices, and I put everything in a big drawer. One day when I will have the problem I will look at it, and my wife, she is accountant, sorry for the other guys here, and everything there is very organized. She told me, no, now we need to see it, to fill out the warranty cards, to put it in the same boxes, everything by dates. When we have a problem, we need to remind to do the warranty extension, or to call them, tell them, come on, it takes us, and it took us hours. Just, to have our basic need of warranty.
First digging out the information and then getting the confirmation.
Exactly, send, confirmation. When we have a problem, did we put this invoice always be deleted because the ink is not relevant to this paper. A lot of problems. And then immediately, why not to do it digital? The penetration of smartphone today is getting stronger and stronger. Why not to have a basic smartphone, just picture the box, picture the invoice, and the magic thing will happen. And from that, we go and think how we do it a win-win situation, because we talked about until now about end users. we understand the benefit to the end user. The end user needs to have as much detail as they can. If they have a problem, they need it to be fixed, or need to have the direct connection to the brands. But we're always thinking, what will be the benefits to the brand? Because to be honest, brands and manufacturers have a lot of problems of distribution, or producing the product, pricing, retail, marketing, a lot of activities during the...
You're saying there is a value chain, there are distributor. Are you saying they are an impediment, or are they a catalyst in making what we want to make happen?
And then we need to bring them some goods for the brands. Why they should use a warranty solution, or why should they use the claims. And through digital solution, any digital solution, we understand that most of the brands, first of all, want to know who are the end users at the end.
Right.
Because they want to know how old are they, are they male or female, if they have some new problems, they can leverage it. And via some good offers to bring to their end user on the relevant point of time, which means even after a year, he can extend his warranty and can bring more money to his company, because
Sure.
all the brands want to bring more, more money.
So there's an opportunity to create a business model, a revenue model out of it.
It must be.
If not, it is a differentiator, and if consumer feels more comfortable.
Exactly.
It adds to the pull of the brand.
It must be a win-win.
Yeah.
If we help him to reduce his cost, for example, until now you asked some numbers or some proofs. Some of the brands that we're using solutions like us, reducing their cost in call centers in 8 to 9%.
Absolutely.
It's a big money.
Yes.
Because customer today have a problem, I need to call to the call center. And then they need to recognize me 2 to 3 minutes. What is your name, what is your phone number, what you have bought, can you send us or fax us the invoice? 2 to 3 minutes, it costs money. And only then they're taking care for the problem.
Yeah, so it's a good way to be able to showcase the benefit.
Yeah, so
create adoption.
So always thinking about the end users, how not only warranty registration, a full after-sales service ecosystem, but always thinking about the brand, because even it would be hard to force and act like this about brands, because brands at the end of the day want to earn money, want to reduce it. But if we can bring them some things that will help them to grow the revenue, reduce costs, and the end user data, I think it can be a win-win situation for both sides.
So can you tell us in what all countries the adoption is faster?
So we are already started in the Middle East. Now in the USA they're starting with the eWarranty Act. So the first act was only about stickers, to reduce cost about stickers, papers. It cost a lot of
Environment, so there is an environment.
Yeah, you put one sticker.
Sustainability.
All the information on digital solution, and that's all. You don't need to put all the user manuals, 5 languages, warranty card, safety card.
Fantastic.
A lot of cost.
So there is a sustainable advantage, there is a cost advantage, of course there is a consumer advantage.
Exactly. Always thinking on the other side how to help them to reduce costs, because we want the business grow. We don't want them to be forced. We want the business grow, and we need to bring them some added value.
Fantastic. I think Avishek, that's very good input and very good base on which what you're trying to build. I think it genuinely creates a win-win, not a win-win. Coming to you, Mr. Sardana, as you're an expert on retail and the ecosystem, we welcome your input on this.
Good morning to all of you. And thanks to Chumai for giving this opportunity, and thanks to organizers for inviting. Friends, as you know, we are from the industry, and we exist because of consumers or customers. If they are not there, we will not exist.
Absolutely.
It's a simple relationship. And if you see in business world, we always say consumer or customer is king. It's well known fact. But at the same time, when we see you need a Consumer Protection Act, so king need protection. Doesn't it look really interesting? Yes. One side, customer is king, and then you need a Consumer Protection Act. It means the king needs protection. And the more interesting is protection from whom? To whom he wants to serve. And that itself tells something very exciting about the commercial world. That what we discuss in seminars and what we practice are two entirely different things. And why it has happened? It is important for us to understand that. And I always tell in my corporate circles that throughout life, in college when we work or study MBAs or whatever about business world, we always study how to do and what to do, which is good for society, good for consumers. But from where we develop all sorts of malpractices and all sorts of things that authorities or system or society needs a Consumer Protection Act. From where we learn all these things. It's an interesting thing to investigate why it happens in the society. But I think this was the time when we were talking about demand-supply mismatch. We were talking about that one side was more educated, other side was less educated, and human beings by nature are biased. And I will say the fundamental of economics is that every individual would like to maximize his or her gain. But within the law, outside law, by following the law, by breaking the law, that was not defined. And that's why all those initial zeal of commercialization or entrepreneurship happened that because I am running a company, I have a right to sell, and whatever I sell, I will see what happens to customer. It's not important right now for me.
This mindset doesn't work today.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. That was the time frame when things were going, everything started well, but started going bad. A lot of regulatory environment came, including what we are discussing, Warranteer.com or eWarranties. I think this shows the world is changing. And this is very clearly accepted. Consumer education, information flow is changing a lot of old ways of working. And that's why we always say that in business world, if you have a trust on the company or the product, you will exist. So any good manufacturer today, when we talk of brand loyalty, brand building, whatever we do, we try to work on the trust aspect. That's a fundamental. Nestle case was mentioned recently. And somebody says that Nestle was suddenly sales went down, and there was a report in various economic times and various business dailies that across the board in processed food industry sales was going down. That was a report. And I wrote a piece during that time that yes, business leaders, chairmen, MDs of companies are saying that this quarter our results are bad, impact of Nestle episode. And then I asked a piece, and I asked my friend, the MD of Amul, but what is happening to your sales? He said, nothing, we are growing 15%. What this indicates? And I always say that whether people have stopped consuming or people have looked for a better vendor or better supplier. Nobody stopped eating. Nobody is going hungry because of Maggi or whatever we talk about. Fact of the matter is people have started looking at who is alternate, who can fit, put my or meet my requirements. If people are trusting Amul, why they are not trusting other brands? I think this itself is a question for every one of us to look at. Not only industry, but also consumers, also the trade channels, also the policy makers and everyone. Because we are talking about the society today, we are not talking in isolation. So this very clearly indicates that we have to do, and every good company will say that whatever is required to build a trust between consumer and supplier will always help. And that's why we're saying that win-win situation. Win-win is that you trust me, I will continue to offer a good product, you will continue to buy, I will make money, and you will continue to get a good product and good service. So it's a win-win situation, provided I trust you. Now all these aspects, when we are talking of eWarranty, we are talking of guarantee, we are talking of all sorts of slogans or sampling or whatever we talk about in commercial world, is basically how we build the trust. If eWarranty helps in building trust, it will definitely help in trust. So what we are trying to look at is that one side, yes, we need Consumer Protection Act, it has to be strong because I will not never say that 100% in commercial world are honest, people we are law-abiding. I'm not saying that. All sorts of people are there. They all are from the same society. But at the same time, there are good people in the same system.
It means, when we are talking of trust building, the trust will start with, are we fair to our customers? Now, fairness not means that you are always the best. I'm saying, are you fair? Whatever you are promising, are you delivering? You may say that, yes, this pen will last 5 pages, other one will say my pen will last for 10 pages, and both are fair and honest in their commitment, they will be customer for both sides. How customer will decide, it is up to him. But what I feel is, anything which helps in building trust will help the Indian economy or Indian industry or whoever is in the system. And for that, transparency is the key. Now, when we are talking of transparency, let me give you a very simple example. Again, from my own experience, we were the last player in edible oil industry where we were investing. In an economy or an industry where the capacity utilization is hardly 25%. And smallest player in the game, just 600 tons a day. People are having thousands of tons a day capacity. The only thing which we kept was, whatever we do is open to our customers. People can come to the factory, inspect the factory, pick up the sample, in packaging section, raw material. If they are comfortable, they will buy my product. When we did this, and everybody objected, this is not the way industry should work, I said, let's experiment. And let me tell you, we were always in demand by the customers. Always. Even today, when you are doing in pricing, customer says you are expensive because your competitors are giving it low price. I said, I don't know how they are doing it. You sit with me, I'll give you my costing. Now, if somebody is giving lower than the cost of production, as a consumer, you have to think how he is doing it.
Yeah, that's a competitive advantage.
No, it can be adulteration. See, that's what I'm saying. That is what consumers should know. And that's where I am saying, when you are talking of warranty, competitive advantage, raw material is 20 rupees. How you can sell at 18 rupees from the same raw material?
Maybe
It means you are adding something which is cheaper than 20 and passing off as a premium product or whatever in the name of brand or whatever you call it. I'm saying that is the time, that is the way we have to look at. And unfortunately, most of the consumers don't read labels. Don't read labels. They don't understand economics of business. So they trust the brand and unfortunately they get cheated. And then they start blaming the brand. But fact of the matter is, but it was mentioned on the label, why you are not read? You assume certain things, okay, this will have this, that was your assumption. But fact was mentioned on the label and nobody is reading it. And then the dispute starts. The point is whose fault? You assumed as a consumer. So point here comes up is that when we are talking of eWarranty or any of these things, simply making law will not help. I think we have to also inspire consumers that for God's sake, for your own benefit, read. At least label for which you are paying the product. And if somebody is writing something wrong and giving something else, or vice versa, there is a law. Accountability has to be fixed. And eWarranty, when we are talking about, is definitely going to fix accountability when you are offering a product. But as an industry, I have a little issue here. I'm not saying that it is not required, it is very much required. As I said, that anything which improves the trust or confidence between supplier and buyer is always healthy for economy. But point here comes up is things which are beyond my control. For example, I supply an electrical appliance and says it will work 6 months very good. And then somebody says, why there are terms and conditions. Yes, it will be there. For example, you look at the electricity supply, we have a huge fluctuation and something goes wrong. Do anything. What is my fault? You please then make the supporting environment also accountable. Is there any, I'm saying the eWarranty for NESU or electricity supply companies that power will not fluctuate so that it will spoil my functioning or my performance. So what I'm trying to say is that in an evolving economy where ecosystem is also in transition, we are improving our infrastructure, we are improving our utilities, we are improving our handling practices, and sometimes consumer itself does something wrong with the equipment. And then he says your machine is going wrong. I was asking some of the retailers, and then I'll close by saying, I asked retailers, what is your problem you are facing the consumer? Nowadays consumers are very alert. They come with a lot of complaints. What type of complaints? But there is a big mess. The reason People will buy a packet of biscuit. They will eat the whole packet and they will come with the last 2 or 3 biscuits. And they say, no, there is a smell in this product, please replace. But that you know the first biscuit itself, isn't it? You consume the whole thing and then you come with the last 2, 3 biscuits with the fact that there is a problem in this product, there is a smell in this product, please replace. Now what we should do? Because of how manufacturer will say, okay, I will replace, giving the pack back, but pack is virtually empty, there are only 2 biscuits remaining there. Sir, let me, this is practical. आप कह रहे हैं, मैं तो झेल रहा हूँ.
मैं एग्री नहीं करता.
आपका opinion होगा. I'm telling you, let me complete. You have a difference of opinion, agree. But the point here is, are we saying that all consumers are honest? I doubt. We see what happens around the world. So what I'm saying is, this is a good attempt. This is a very fair attempt to inform consumer, to empower consumer. But the fact of the matter is, what is the responsibility of consumer itself? How they are going to check that consumers also appreciate that it is in their interest to be fair to the supplier. Otherwise, what will happen? Good companies will move out. You will continue to get substandard adulterated product because they are cheaper, they can survive. You will continue to get a duplicate product because you are looking for a cheaper product without looking into performance. So I'm saying it is mutual responsibility to build an economy. No good company, again I'm saying, no good company would like to temper because they want to survive for long. They are investing in the business. After investing 100, 200 crores, I know if I'm wrong, today social media will blacklist me on the day 1. I will not take chance. But the fact of the matter is, if somebody is unnecessarily targeting me with their own fault, how they are going to change the other side of the economy? Yes, there is a law for industry, but consumers, what is their social responsibility and moral responsibility? We have to debate that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Very passionate and very eloquent. You built a case for fixing the responsibilities and not just enforcing the law, and thinking through what we are implementing and citing real life examples of how it could work and how it could not be that fun. Thank you for that. When I was at business school, I wanted to be like he said, MBA, I'm much below average. I went to a business school. When I was in business school, I wanted to be a management consultant. I was the head of the management consulting club in my school. And then I decided not to be a management consultant. You know why? Because I was told management consultants are people who, when you ask them the time, they look at your watch, tell you the time and take the watch away. So we have certain gentlemen like that on the panel. I'd like to bring him in. The second reason I did not become is because we have a lawyer who are also legal consultants. And the definition that suits them best is that legal consultants are people who like to con and insult. So we have 2 such individuals now on the panel with this illustrious background. I invite them to now, because on a very serious note, it's a new law. As Mr. Suzana said, that we have to look at all aspects. So I will first get Mr. Rohit Govil, who is the Associate Director of PwC India, works in the startup ecosystem, and as a consultant, they possibly have a point of view on everything and expert on everything. So I'm sure he has a very relevant point of view to that. Mr. Govil, all yours.
Good morning to my fellow participants, and a special thanks to Mr. Batra for the kind voice and an introduction.
I won't charge for that, I promise you.
Generally, we are on the other side when it comes to charging, so we can discuss that offline.
That's why I don't call consultants and lawyers ever. What's happening?
So I think it's a very interesting topic that we are discussing, and I thank the Warranteer team for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to interact with stalwarts like Mr. Sadala and people who are from the policy making and government side, and my fellow consultants and lawyers. I think why are we even talking about warranties in the first place? The fundamental reason is something which we need to understand is there is a relationship which is at play in the marketplace, which is between the producers of goods and providers of services versus the consumer. And over a period of time, what has happened is The products and the services which are being provided have become more complex. The production and the provider of services have become more organized. So there is an imbalance in the power equation between the producers and the consumers. There is obviously an information asymmetry which prevails. The kind of knowledge which a producer has about his products or a provider has about his services, a consumer doesn't have. That's why we need some level of protection for the consumer to make sure that he gets what he has paid for. As Mr. Sardara earlier said, there will be market for all kind of products. Products which will cost 10 rupees and the same product with same functional utility will cost 100 rupees as well. But at the end of the day, customer should be not be shortchanged or cheated for what he has paid for. And I think that's where warranty comes in as an insurance for the consumer in terms of what he gets, what he has paid for. But there are interventions which will be required at multiple levels to make sure that we get the final outcome that we are looking to get. I think providing warranties is one aspect which is more in the form of insurance. But we also need to balance that power equation between the producer and the consumer. We also need to empower the consumer. And you can empower the consumer by making him more aware, where the campaigns such as Jago, Grahak Jago, and some of the other initiatives which the consumer voice as an NGO is taking, is trying to make sure that the consumer is more educated in his purchasing decisions, and also if the purchasing decision goes wrong, he buys a product which doesn't adhere to the quality standard that he paid for, what are the redressal mechanisms available at law and otherwise as well. And I think in the time that we are discussing this, technology can play a huge role in empowering the consumer, because there may be a lot of consumers who are there who may be suffering from poor products. Social media, availability of technology, internet penetration on mobile, the connection to the information and talking to a lot of other consumers is now much easier than what it used to be. So collectively, I think individual consumer who was alone earlier is now congregating as a mass who can now raise their voice with support of these NGOs. Plus also there are groups which are coming together on Facebook and various other social media platforms which are giving that power to individual consumer to come together as a group. I am sure you would have looked at some of the judgments which were passed, especially in the real estate industry, where builders, because as a body they were very powerful, they came together. There were very one-sided contracts, builder-buyer agreements, and then associations came together and fought with the builders, and finally they got judgments in their interest. So I think there will be an intervention which will be required on that aspect as well, and we are continuing to do that. We need to probably up the ante on that. Secondly, on the entire thing around eWarranty, I think the way the Act stands right now, from the producer's perspective, it's definitely a good plus in terms of the cost saving that it will bring. And now producers have to think if that cost saving can ultimately help give them more insurance to the consumer, pass on some of those cost savings, I think it can be beneficial to the consumer as well. I'm looking at it more at slightly ahead. How can we use technology and warranty to make sure that we look at more preventive approach to it rather than a curative approach, that when something has gone wrong then you run pillar to post and try and get justice. Can't we have a mechanism, something like a registry we have for land records, some registry like that for warranty, where at the point of
something like
sale,
that is being proposed. Warranteer.com.
yeah, so if we can have a registry like that, where at the point of sale itself consumer can know whether a particular product that he is buying will qualify for certain warranty or not, I think that will reduce a lot of cost involved in warranty claims and a lot of headache as well. The reason why we are talking about something like that is there seems to be a lot of confusion around applicability or availability of warranties depending on the channel from which you have bought the product. You go and talk to a mom and pop store, you will say, okay, the product that you are getting on the e-commerce, you will not get warranties, etc. You go and talk to the e-commerce guy, they will say, no, this will have manufacturer warranty. So consumer is at a loss because there are different versions which are floating around. Something like that where you have a direct connect with the producer of goods. At the point of sale, you can verify whether this qualifies for warranty or not. I think that will solve a lot of the headache for the consumer. And at the same time, I believe as a consumer, because everybody here is a consumer at some point of time in different transactions. So as a consumer, I think if I am paying for the product what is required, and if it's a genuine product coming out of the same factory, irrespective of which channel I buy it from, whether I buy it from e-commerce, whether I buy it from a mom and pop store, I think as a consumer I should be entitled to the protection which is required. And talking about the law which will be required to do that, I think law is one aspect, obviously that's required, but apart from that, fundamentally the mindset change needs to happen, both from the supplier side in terms of making sure that, as we said, the fundamental motto of the business is consumer is king. So how do we stand true to that? I think that mindset change will also be required to make sure that this entire consumer protection as an initiative gathers force, and we are not required maybe after a few years to even debate that. It becomes de facto that everybody is the fulcrum of decision making for businesses that consumers should be happy. Because at the end of the day, if the consumer gets what he wants, he is happy. I think as a society, all of us benefit, whether it's the businessman or the
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Goel. You brought another dimension to your discussion about implementation and why all aspects should be kept in mind and not just enforcement. We have Mr. Satyajit Gupta who works very closely with your organization and who will shed light on the legal issues and adoption, how he sees this getting into an actionable item on the list of owners. Mr. Gupta.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. I think I'm just trying to see few slides.
You know, I make a lot of PowerPoint presentations, but I stopped making them. You know why? Because a friend of mine told me PowerPoint presentations are made by people who are neither powerful nor have a point of view. I'm certainly not one of them. So I stopped.
Provide warranties, but if you do provide a warranty, it provides the manner in which you provide the warranty. The Act ensures that the person who sells it has to provide a procedure, has to provide complete information about the warranties, has to allow the comparison of the warranty terms, and also has to ensure that the warranty coverage is provided. This is now, by way of the eWarranty Act, there's a bunch of things to be disclosed. I'll move on briefly in terms of who are the parties, what is the description of the products, what is the time period, etc. And depending on the channel from which the sale is made, there are different options. To this extent, even from you sell it to a shop, to whether you do a door-to-door sale, to a catalog made order sale, etc. The eWarranty Act moves on to sort of the purpose really is what I encapsulated. The fact that many consumer manufacturers now want to electronic or online format. Use the paper. It's the main concept of global warranties. So you want to buy a product in one particular country, but you want to use it across the world. So the access to this information on being online helps you. Again, it provides, depending on the mechanism in which you sell the products, whether you do a door-to-door sale, whether you do an online sale, it tells you how to provide this information. You provide a link, how that link is shaped, etc. No Indian law. So there is no Indian law here. We talk about it. Obviously, the Warranteer initiative is a tremendous initiative. That way, it's ahead of what the law provides. I'm sure at one point of time, very soon, there will be some initiative from the Indian government to sort of move forward. As some of the fellow panelists mentioned, there's been significant improvements in Indian consumer protection initiatives in terms of on the legal side. People talk about mindset change. Unfortunately, in India, until there's a law which comes, there's no mindset change. We are, at the end of the day, let's accept it. We are the country which gave rise to the word jugaad. We are the country which use that cutting corners and doing things the
profitable way makes sense. So let's not have a situation. Let's not assume that we will be able to do something. Let's move on back to issues confronting online transactions. Really, you guys are all aware, for example, with the cases of bricks being delivered instead of phones, certain cases, and misrepresentations, etc. when you're buying online. It happened offline. Again, I think buy not presentation is very sort of consumer focused. I agree with Mr. Sadana. There are many cases where consumers themselves, sort of will continue, or will there may be issues where mobile phones suffered some damage, water damage. India is a country where they said, oh, let's use a dryer, let's dry it up, send it back to the manufacturer, let's try to clean the water. So we are sort of a country which works both ways really. So but if you have a law which provides a minimum mandatory situation, which provides that okay, there is a bunch of warranties which need to be provided, those warranties cannot be tremendously one-sided. They have to be fair to some extent. They have to be sort of explained to the customer before you buy it, and they have to be in a sense in a manner which is available to the customer because they're not. It's not that if you lose that piece of paper, if you lose that invoice, he's completely down. It's hard luck. It should be a situation where he's able to access that warranty. In fact, Mr. Sadana asked an interesting question: what happens if you buy a product today? You obviously don't look at the warranty card. Maybe they say, okay, there's an online warranty available somewhere. And 5 days later, you go there and actually the warranty terms have changed. So who tracks that particular online warranty?